Hello, citizens of YouTubica. I'm your unkempt host, James, and welcome to the cubic zirconium standard of review shows on YouTube, YT Reviews. Now, we have all heard of the Bermuda Triangle. Well, I've discovered something called the YouTube trapezoid. Instead of things getting lost in it, we have slanted, long-winded commentaries coming out of it. And speaking of which, let's take a look at GregSolomon. First off, he has no age given, but I'd have to say he's around old to very old. He's been on YouTube for 6 months, currently has 54 videos on his site, and has over 3,000 subscribers. At this time, his only all-time status is number 79 most subscribed in a director's account. The only positive thing I could come up with to say about Mr. Solomon is this. He looks like the love child of the buzzard from the Bugs Bunny cartoons and Mr. Hand from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. First off, I have to say, God, he's a wordy motherfucker. Seriously, at this moment, if you added up the total running time of all of Greg's videos right now, it would be almost 8 hours. In other words, if laid end to end, Greg's videos would circle the earth 12 times. I think YouTube had to get a separate server just for his videos because they kept sucking up everybody else's bandwidth. As fellow YouTuber Casimir Newman says,
"Dude, keep it short."
We live in a soundbite world, and Greg, your videos are a 3-course dinner. You need to get to the meat of your subjects instead of taking the viewers on the long and whiny road. Greg likes to say stuff that he doesn't mean, such as this little gem from the recently released YouTube's Worst Decision.
I like to use visuals.
Or how about this one?
Now folks, what I'd like to do is give you folks a visual in order to illustrate a point, okay?
Apparently Greg's definition of the word visual is different from the rest of the world's. Here I was expecting him to put up some kind of graphic or show us some picture, but all we got was Greg sucking on his pipe while he verbally yanked our chain. Greg, when you talk about something, that's not a visual. That's what is known as commentary. Remember, it's YouTube, not you radio. Greg also has a tendency of repeating himself. You don't believe me? Then count the times he says things like, "Let me state once again," or "let me reiterate." Greg, you need to stop going off on tangents as well. What does sending an email to YouTube and not getting a response have to do with what YouTube is doing? Nothing, other than to give yourself something else to complain about for an additional 3 minutes. What I would suggest you do is write down everything you want to say before you record, or start a typewritten blog instead. 9 minutes of you just talking could harden anybody's arteries. Next, what is up with the pipe? I never see it lit, so I'm assuming he's just trying to suck the last of the resin out of the bowl. Or sometimes you'll see him sucking on a big old blunt. Come on, you seriously think that's a cigar? Maybe if we're lucky, he'll do a video on how to roll big joints. And Greg, next time, try Gravity Bong. It works faster. In any case, this pretty much explains his lower than Christmas delivery and the fact that he feels the need to repeat himself. I'm just waiting for him to get a case of the giggles and scarf down a big bag of Cheetos during one of his videos. You don't believe me? Well, then let me illustrate with some visuals because, unlike Mr. Solomon, I actually like to use visuals and not just talk about them. In the upper part of this graphic, we see Christmas represented by the arguing on the internet poster child. And in the lower part, we see GregSolomon represented by the great big giant GregSolomon head. So on your mark, get set, go! As you can plainly see, Christmas pretty much smoked Greg's ass. Seriously though, you need to lose that pipe. Didn't your mother tell you it's not polite to speak with your mouth full? In fact, stop smoking altogether. It makes you look even less cool than you already are and will make your lifespan shorter than one of your own videos. For thinking you're wise about the subjects you speak on, you're not very smart about your own health. And shame, shame, Mr. Solomon. Somebody apparently likes themselves way too much. Out of the 15 videos Greg has favored in his account, 7 of them are his own. Now, Greg, you lambasted YouTube for nefariously inflating subscriptions, so aren't you being a bit hypocritical yourself by doing basically the same thing? Although it's only one extra number, you're still falsely inflating one of the stats on some of your own videos. Finally, Greg says he lives in a real-life Bedford Falls. Apparently, they haven't heard of color where he lives either. I feel like I'm watching an old hygiene film from the 1950s, except not as exciting. Then again, maybe the store where he bought the spindle of CDs was having a great deal on black and white webcams. Okay, so what have we learned? Greg loves himself and is in love with his own voice. He suffers from glaucoma, and he feels the need to chastise others for the way they live. It's as if he's appointed himself as the official YouTube police officer. Perhaps I'll feel differently after watching Zen Archer's or Reneto's videos. But until then, Greg, I hope you have homeowner's insurance on that glass house you live in. The only thing worse would be having your own review show about YouTube users on YouTube. So out of 5 stars, I have to give Greg 1/4 of 1 star. That is only because his videos don't have too much garbled audio. And I would have given him a higher rating, but he just talks way too much, usually about nothing but YouTube or himself. The only way I'd recommend a video by GregSolomon is having trouble falling asleep or you think he's absolutely adorable. Otherwise, just move along to something else. Well, that's it for this edition of YT Reviews. Tune in next time when we might be reviewing you or your neighbor. So until next time, love, peace, and chicken grease.